Hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sean Kokoska, the founder of Icon Coaching. Thank you so much for being here. I've got a wonderful guest today as the icon for March. I'm going to introduce him here in just one second. Yet before I did that, I want to point a couple of things out to you. Just bring your attention. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact us at the phone number down here at the bottom of the screen. You can also reach us via email at grow@iconcoachinre.com and certainly find more information about future webinars and other training events that are available to you at iconcoachinre.com. So a little preview of what's to come in the months to come, just real fast. We've got Greg Harrelson next month, who is consistently closing almost 2,000 transactions year over year. He'll be on April 6th. Rhonda and Frank Duffy, in 2015, the #1 producing realtors on the face of this planet, gang. And then Brian North, he's going to be joining us on June 1st. He's a solid up-and-comer and making massive headway in the Arizona markets. Mark Spain, who I'm super excited about, on July 13th. Now, today's icon is a gentleman named John Murray. And every time I have the opportunity to talk to this guy, I get more and more excited about what you're going to learn. See, John has consistently ranked for the last 5 years as either the #1 or the #2 realtor in the world, gang, as an individual agent as well as a team producing together. Now, he's the president and co-owner of another company called Realtypilot, which hopefully we can learn a little bit about today, because that's one of the major reasons for John's success. And he's also the president of Key Realty, Rockford, Illinois. Now, when you saw the marketing pieces for this, when you saw the stuff on Facebook, or maybe you got an email about this, it said John has sold almost 15,000 homes in 13 years. I mean, just a short 13-year career, gang. It said almost 15,000 homes. Now, John, I wasn't actually accurate on that. In fact, John had closed over 15,000 homes in the last 13 years. And guys, he's very magnanimous. He's going to share with you everything that he has done that we can cram into the next 60 minutes to grow his real estate practice to be that size. Now, before I introduce him formally, I just want to share with you what you're going to learn. John's going to teach us how he leverages his activities through people. He's going to show us how to systemize and scale the business the way that he did it. Now, this is critical because, you know, smart people, they learn from their own failures. Now, people that are smarter than that, well, they learn from the failures of others. And the smartest people of all, which is exactly why you're on this webinar today, they learn from the success that others obtain. Now, he's going to teach us also how to create an empowering mindset, to believe in yourself, to bet on yourself. He's going to share with us a philosophy that, frankly, I've taken a lot from around work-life balance. And he's also going to share transparently some of the mistakes that he made so that you don't make the same mistakes. All right, so with all of that posturing, John, welcome to our call today.
Thank you, Sean. It's great to be here. I can't wait to share.
Yeah, thank you. So we're going to start really at the basis of all of it. And John, to me, the base of it all is purpose. It's why. So my first question that I have for you, buddy, is what drives you? What is your why?
For me, I'm a father, so being the best father for my 9-year-old twins and the best husband for my wife means everything. I mean, you know, they really keep me in the present while focusing on the future, right? I mean, they're the fuel of my success and the reason why I'm successful and can do what I do. You know, and I extend that even into sports. So I'm an active competitive triathlete, you know, and I medal frequently. And I like, as you expressed, just having an overall good balance with life. You know, I've got a 50-year plan, and I want to be around for my kids and my family, you know, for years to come. So I just balance everything, and they're the center of everything.
You said a 50-year plan. Now, a lot of us, well, we can't see past next week or next month, let alone 50 years down the road. So you have this compelling just why to be around for your grandkids, your great grandkids, and that drives you to become a competitive triathlete. let me ask, how much time do you spend at the gym, John?
Probably more than I do work. So at least 2 hours a day. You know, I schedule, and we'll probably get into that later, but I schedule me time every single time. Well, you know, I mean, you were trying to coordinate with me, and I said I'm not available 9 to 11 every day, and you have to work around that because I have a schedule for me. You know, that's the me time where I can focus on the day, where I can focus on my health. And, you know, I do some spiritual reflection during that time, the steam rooms, I mean, the whole 9 yards. I get it all in, Sean.
That's fantastic. You know, it reminds me of a real quick story. I'm just going to digress for a half second. Some of you have heard this story. It's one of my favorites. You see, my wife and I were high school sweethearts, still are today. We've been married almost 25 years. And I had one of the greatest ahas, John, of my life back when I was like 17 years old. We decided to go see a movie one night. And we invited her older sister, and her sister's new boyfriend hadn't met this guy yet. And we pull up to pick him up, and this guy comes out of the house, John, and I got to tell you, he's like built, like muscles on muscles, right? He looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And I'm 17 years old. I want to look like that guy. And so I got to know him a little bit. He said, and his name is Paul. I said, Paul, how often do you go to the gym? I asked him basically how I asked you, right? He said, oh, every day. I said, every day, John? Seriously, how long do you spend at the gym? He says, well, at least 2 hours every day. Coincidental, right? And I said, John, how do you find or Paul, excuse me, how do you find the motivation to go for 2 hours every day? I'm having a hard time getting there, you know, once, twice a week, let alone 2 hours at a time. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And this was the aha moment. He said, Sean, it's just something I do. So do y'all get the point? When he said, it's just something I do, there's something that kind of stirred inside of me. Meaning this was an expectation that he held of himself. This is who Paul is. This is what Paul does. And therefore, guess what? Paul gets to look the way that Paul looks. You get it? And so when I think about that, how does that equate to business? I think, well, what is it that you could just do on a consistent, repetitive basis that would drive your success, your production to almost 1,500 transactions a year, just like John Murray here on the line with us? So, John, a follow-up question to that would be, you know, how did you discover your why? I mean, was it just kind of inherent to you? Did it just come to you easily? Because I just did a Facebook Live post a couple of days ago, and many people reached out to me saying, I really want to understand how to get my mind around my why, my purpose. What advice would you have for them?
I'm not a real estate guy. I mean, I joke around about that all the time. I say I play one on TV because probably everyone on this call are real estate professionals. I came from an IT background, and I got into real estate really by accident and out of necessity. Really, due to family health reasons, I had to leave my lifelong career and passion, which is actually information technology. So I'm a tech guy, right? So in computers. And so I was the leadership roles of that, and I needed to take care of my parents. So it, after years of trying to have caretakers and all this kind of stuff, throwing money at the problem, it didn't solve anything. So I was the closest brother, so I had to step up to the plate, leave my lifelong career that I loved, and move back and take care of mom and dad. And that was both the hardest and yet the most rewarding thing I've ever done is play caretaker to your parents. I mean, that's very humbling if you, for those of you that have ever done something like that. Bathing your parents is a whole nother experience that, wow, that really centers your life on there's something else more important than me here. So, but anyway, outside of all that, very restrictive hours, lack of IT, and computer science type of opportunities. I found some flexibility in real estate. In fact, I was just looking at markets, and I saw the correlation between this is back in 2002. I saw home prices in the real estate market starting to boom, and and just having that math and scientific background, I figured that that's not really feasible and sustainable on the long term. I mean, I saw vacant land being sold 3 times over in the for 20% more each time, and the ground hasn't even been broke. I mean, something's going on here. And so I immediately thought of the dot-com crash. So I then analyzed that and said, how can I get in on the negative side of this, meaning like the foreclosure world? So I really started off in foreclosures, and it was because real estate offered me that flexibility of schedule. I could still take my mother and my parents to dialysis and take care of their needs, and still, do something called work. So that's really how I got into it and why.
Fantastic. All right. So that really does speak to the question up on the screen right now, which is, what are some of the problems and challenges that you had to overcome, and dealing with aging parents, dealing with their health? Obviously couldn't hold down that typical 9-to-5 type job and take care of them. You had to really be able to juggle a whole bunch of things at once, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was very, very, very challenging. Again, I'm an IT guy, and now all of a sudden I couldn't even spell REO or real estate. I had no idea what I was doing. So I got into this brand new, you guys. I mean, like, just as green as you could possibly be. I had no idea what was going on. And crazy thing is, even my first year in business, I sold like 120 homes. So I mean, without knowing what I was doing. So like I started off because I'm too dumb to not know what I didn't know. So I just kept on pressing forward and building systems and just doing the way that I thought real estate should be done, coming from a complete outsider perspective with an IT background, very system project management, centric type of mindset. So I mean, and so, yeah, I mean, the aging parents, a new industry. I'm in a small little town in the middle of nowhere. I like big cities. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in family and where I was completely uprooted from what I loved doing, and just had to start this. And I was bitter about it at first. I was bitter. I mean, I'm happy-go-lucky now, but yeah, I mean, it was challenging. I mean, taking care of your parents. I mean, wow. I mean, that's a big role, you guys. And no, I wasn't happy that I left IT. I mean, I was booming in that industry. It was awesome. There was some resentment there, and that's one of my greatest regrets, is not appreciating what I had and living in the moment while I was there. And really, I appreciated taking care of my parents, but not as much as I should have while I was doing it. There was a little resentment. So I am human. But in any case,
no doubt.
That's the challenge, man.
All right, John. So speaking of being human, each one of us has successes and each one of us has failures. Now, as we look at failure, we have a couple of choices, right? We could let it define us, or we could just fail our way forward. We can learn from the experience, right? Like John Maxwell just wrote that book a couple of years ago. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, right? So let's talk about that just for a second. I want to hear your perspective as it relates to maybe some of the things you haven't done perfectly. Maybe it wasn't a success. Maybe it was a learning experience. And just ask the question, what's been your greatest failure in business?
Well, I've had lots of them, Sean. I mean, I fall on my face probably more than anyone on this call. I mean, and I'm a slow learner, so I mean, I just keep on getting hit in the face over and over again. I'm just too stupid to stop. So the thing that's hitting me either breaks or I decide to move, and then I move forward. So I mean, I've had tons of failures. So it's fun to talk about now, but again, it's not fun to go through. Probably the thing that I'm most embarrassed about that really cost me a lot of money, I mean, lots of money, is referrals and not following up. And I know no one likes to follow up on stuff, and it's hard enough to follow up with people that are in your office, in your community, but then I'm a big lister. So having probably 50% of everyone that I listed their homes for either moved out of area or out of state. And, of course, at first I'm like, oh, I'll find an agent over in Atlanta, and I'll send them a referral and they're going to pay me and all this. Well, okay, that seldom works. For every 100 referrals I sent out, I might have gotten 1 or 2 checks back. And I was so busy that I really didn't, care or mind at that point. But the point is that I lost all that referral business because I didn't have the system and structures in place and team, really. I mean, like the system and processes to give a referral and to follow up, and then the people that would make that happen. So if I could go back and do it over again, I'd have millions more dollars in the bank if I just would have done that from the beginning. So that's probably the biggest, at least the most expensive mistake in this business.
All right. So what you did is you implemented systems, procedures, and a team to make certain that all that stuff could be followed up on.
Yes.
All right. So let's transition to that. How did you build your team?
I figured out within the first week that real estate had 2 sides to it. And this seems very, very simple, but I'm a simple kind of guy. So it's got a buy side and a list side. And then I said, well, you can't really serve 2 masters at once. So it makes sense that I need to focus on either list or buy, but I can't do both effectively. So I brought on somebody, and that somebody just happened to do buy side, and I happened to pick list side. I mean, it didn't matter who was doing it, but I already had listings at that point. So I'm like, I'll be the listing guy, you be the buy guy, and we'll split everything 50-50. I mean, just as simple as you could be. And then after about a couple weeks of doing that, within the first month, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of paperwork going on here. There's a lot of stuff that we can't do, because if I'm busy taking listings and you're busy showing homes, who's going to do all the in-between stuff and help us out? So I brought on an assistant right away. And I remember my wife to this day going, you hired somebody? How the hell are you going to pay for them? And I'm like, I don't know. But we just got to keep going, right? Because it didn't make sense to operate any other way, because I'm a structured systems guy, and it's like, okay, there's 2 sides, plus we need a middle doing the paperwork and stuff. So I really started off like that month 1 and got yelled at a lot, but it happened, it worked, and it's successful. And then, with that, again, being so new, and my approach just in general is to learn an industry or anything, you want to kind of master, I view it like a pizza. And there's multiple pieces to every industry, and you have to focus on the slice that you're doing and master that first. But then you want to kind of go around to every single roll that happens, every single slice of pizza, and kind of master that as well, so that you understand the big picture of what's going on, because that's key. You have to know what's going on in your business, and you have to be able to really perform any role that's in your business. So I started mapping out, and this is no joke, right at the very beginning, again, this is brand new John, I've mapped out buyer agent, listing agent, processor, and started putting down workflows and tasks, because I didn't know any better. And that's in the IT world, when you're doing project management for, Fortune 100 companies doing, global infrastructure and operation rollouts, you got to map stuff out, because there's a lot of moving parts. So I took that mentality and started mapping out simple real estate things so I could understand what the hell's going on. And then I went and mastered each thing. So I went on buyer side appointments, I did listing side appointments. I wanted to understand each role so that I could better, because if you understand every piece of the puzzle, then you can make better decisions on the piece that you're on, because you know how it interacts with everything else.
Well, John, you bring up an excellent point, because a lot of people, especially as it relates to lead generation. Let's face it, I'm not thrilled about lead generating every day. Certainly it's something I do every day, yet I'm not thrilled about it. In fact, I don't know anybody who's just excited to show up and lead generate all the time. Yet, nevertheless, what they end up doing is they hire somebody. to come in and, oh, I'll just hire somebody. I'm going to delegate that task to somebody else. And then they bring them on board and they say, well, here's maybe a few things you should know. And unfortunately, that person fails miserably. And what you're speaking to here, John, is that first you've got to master it. That's the bad news. The good news is that once you've mastered it, then you can manualize it. Then you can effectively delegate it. So that's what I hear you saying. Master the roles first, and then you can understand what it takes to hire the right person to succeed. Now, on our pre-call, you said, believe in yourself and bet on yourself. I mean, you didn't have any income and you hired an assistant anyway.
Absolutely. I mean, believe in yourself, bet on yourself. So you really want to, again, how much is your time worth? So this is all about maximizing production, and it's really the number one common thing that I see where everyone's failing and doesn't understand this concept is, if you're asking yourself, should I hire an assistant? And your internal being is probably saying yes, like you should, because if there's only so much time in a day. There's only so many things you can do during a day. And if you're doing everything, then the lowest paid thing that you're doing becomes your pay. So if you can find a processor or somebody to help you out for 10 or 12 or 15 bucks an hour, and you're not paying out 10, 12 or 15 bucks an hour to that person to do all the work that they could do, then you, in essence, you're earning that 10, 12 or 15 bucks an hour. And I can tell you what, I didn't get into real estate to earn $15 an hour. Hell, I'd go work at McDonald's and be brain dead at that point. I mean, right? We're all here to make a little bit more cash than 15 bucks an hour. So, don't sweat the small stuff. Anything that can be outsourced, you should outsource it. Like, you should get help. And that's where I see people in my own office, failing at that. And when I travel across the country, I mean, I do lots of these things. I meet a lot of real estate professionals. That's the number one thing. I mean, they're just not managing time effectively because they don't have anyone to help them, because they have some kind of mental block saying that if I hire somebody, how am I going to pay for them? Well, you want to know what? You hire somebody, you pay for them. That's what you do. You make it happen. And if you can break past that and get over your bad self, then that's when you can start to succeed.
That's true. Now we have a quick question that popped up here. Brian Lucy asks, what do you do to sell 1,500 homes? Do you do any direct mail or something other than for sale by owners, expired listings? Let's talk about your marketing campaign and how you do that.
Sure. Well, initially I disclosed that I started off the business with more on the corporate side. So I represented a lot of institutional investors, a lot of banks, a lot of foreclosures, a lot of relocation companies, accounts that I could systematize and repeat and automate, to get to higher volumes. So that's how I started. So now my marketing campaign, so when I started, it was probably 80% foreclosure and corporate type work and 20% traditional. Now it's probably 20% corporate relocation stuff and Reos, and about 80% traditional. So my marketing is probably different than what you guys can market, because I have some pretty easy, one-liners that I can put out and market, like, hey, you want to work with the number 1 or number 2 guy in the Wall Street Journal for the last 5 years in a row? I write, my marketing is my results at this point. Now, everyone has results to some fashion or degree in their own markets or neighborhoods or whatever. What I would suggest is being an expert in the area that you're marketing and really just dominate that first, so, and then market extensively to that. And then once you have your own backyard in shape, then you start moving to adjacent neighborhoods and areas, and then you can start expanding that way. But don't spread yourself too thin from a marketing perspective first. I would rather focus heavily on one area and dominate, because you want to dominate to get that word of mouth out quickly.
Very good. And you do quite a bit with Zillow as well, yes? We talked about this, and I said, why are you spending money to buy leads? And you had a pretty good response, better than what I've ever heard before. Why don't you share that with us?
Okay, well, I used to be angry like all of you at Zillow, like, why in the hell do I have to buy my own leads and this kind of stuff? Well, I got over it, and here's why. I started thinking, saying, okay, I could try to put up, I've got a great website, and I don't nearly have the eyeballs that they have. In fact, I spoke with these guys, just their budget for the first quarter just for IT was $250 million this year. Okay, I don't have $250 million to spend on my website. Okay, and yet they're dropping that Q1, right? Which tells me, like, wow, they're doing an awful lot of marketing and advertising, and they have millions of eyeballs going through there. So rather than try to compete with some place that millions of eyeballs are already going through, why not just buy my own little slice of the pie and direct some of those eyeballs back to me? So Zillow is part of my marketing campaign now. So they're not against me. They're kind of working with me, and I'm leveraging the $250 million they're spending per quarter, which is $1 billion a year. Wow. I mean, I want that.
Excellent.
I want that kind of marketing presence.
Brent just asked a question as well. He said, do you prefer Zillow over Realtor.com?
At the moment, I do.
Okay.
I think Zillow is very creative. I think they're very much. I think they're more aggressive and progressive than Realtor.com is now. I know with the change in ownership and now they've got some big dollars behind them. I think they're probably getting there, but Zillow's had to make it on their own without. Realtor.com started off, and they've been in the business longer, and Zillow just came up and just knocked them out of the way like they were standing still, right? So, like, I like innovators like that. I mean, they did something right, and they took it by storm, and they're still innovating every day, and I respect that. So that's my answer. There's nothing wrong with Realtor.com.
So we've got two questions here, John. Chuck and Chris both asked, how do you get into REO and reloads, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the webinar, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. So guys, we'll be back to you on that. Now, in our pre-call, you said, delegate to free thinkers and hold them accountable to results. Don't micromanage. So what do you mean by that?
Well, this is super important, you guys, as you're building your teams, as you're hiring staff. Believe, like, if you know what you're, like, once you've mastered, because we talked about mastering roles, etc., once you know what you want somebody to do and you hire them to do it, let them do it. Why did you hire them, right? Don't micromanage them. Hold them accountable to results. Let them do it their way. As long as they get to the finish line and they've reached the objective, life happens. Let them do it, because they're going to be more creative, they're going to own it, and they're going to work it if you empower them to do so. So, I really plant the seed and then I nurture it. I liken myself to a gardener, where my staff and my company is like the plants that I'm planting in the garden, and I make sure that the soil is good and right nutrients. I make sure that proper amount of sunlight and rain and water and this kind of stuff, and I clip and prune, but then I get the hell out of the way. I mean, I let it grow, because in my opinion, if you can't walk away from your business and come back, and if it's not growing or if it's not working without you, then do you really have a business, or do you have a job? A business is something that is outside of you. You know, you work on it, not in it. And you help it, like I'm a rainmaker. So that's where the term comes from. You make it rain on the things that you're trying to build to let it grow, but you're not actually in it. So you really want to empower others, hold them accountable, understand that life happens. You know, outside of a few positions of, I never do the 9 to 5, you know, nonsense. Like outside of, you know, support and, you know, front desk and this kind of stuff, all my people are task driven, they're results driven, and life happens. You know, like Sean, how effective would you be if you had something major going on at home right now, and you're like every 2 minutes looking at your clock, like, I can't wait to get off of this call so that I can go and take care of what I really need to be taking care of? My answer would be go take care of that. It's definitely more important, because when you're here, I want you here. You know, if you're not here, then go where your mind is, and then come back when you're ready to be here, because you're going to get a lot more done. You know, it's life happens, and and I let everyone control their schedule based on based on their entire day, not what John says, or not what, you know, Realty says.
Just hold them accountable to results, not process, right? And if they get the results, they can stay on the team. If they're not getting the results, well, you're going to put them on probation, and then they have to go bye-bye. Yeah. Okay,
Correct.
I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty short answer. How important are systems to your success?
Well, they're pretty much everything.
Okay, and we're going to get into some of those systems today, gang.
Well, I'll clarify one thing. Not only systems, you want to have documented systems.
There you go, documented systems. We're going to get into some of those on the webinar today, guys. We're going to show you some of John's systems so you can get a sense of what that looks like. And then I'm going to email it out to everybody who registered for this webinar as well. So how did you systemize your business, John? Talk to me about that. So we already talked about the first point. Understand the big picture first. Every piece of the pizza, right? And then you told me in our pre-call, set goals and focus. So walk me through these points.
Yeah, so I mean, really, once you get the big picture down, you have to have that, then you document it. Now, I'm going to stop here and say, I'm going to challenge, I wish we could see by show of hands, how many people listening today actually have a written business plan. I'm willing to bet right now it's probably somewhere less than 10 or 15% of everyone listening. And that's sad, because if you don't have a written business plan, then you don't have a business. You have nothing, in my opinion. And, you know, secondarily, of the people that have business plans, how many people have a strat plan every year?
And a strat is not an acronym, it's just strategy, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, a strategy plan. So I just call it strat plan. Every year. I mean, that's the most important document in my organization, and it's something that drives us every single day. You know, and we build it as management and executives, and really, I mean, the entire company is involved with this, on setting priorities of what we need to do to be effective and to still be here. Like, I see that you have my question in here. If we're sitting, so one of the questions I ask is, if we're sitting here 5 years from now and we're bankrupt, what could we have done different? I mean, what the hell happened? And, you know, this is a think tank, and there's no right or wrong answers. I mean, we work backwards and we say, well, we should have done this better, and this better. And then we make sure it's on the strat plan, you know, and it's a democracy. I mean, it works off of votes, and you know, we've got some big core items that are part of our core values and in our business plan, and then we've got everything in the strategy plan that we focus on. And every single meeting, we have weekly meetings, we have quarterly, we have monthly manager meetings, and then we have you know, quarterly strat plan meetings, and we always check to see are we online? I mean, are we on track? I mean, there's a goal that we've set. Are we getting there? And it makes it so much easier to say no to the things that are not important. Because if you're a yes person all the time, that's a dangerous person to be, because you're probably never getting anything done.
That's true. And what you've done is you've systematically gone through a kind of a review plan. And let's face it, if they do have a business plan, most people, they put it in a drawer, or they write it and then they don't look at it very often. So my question to all of you is, what's your system to make certain that you're bringing back to your conscious awareness what is on the business plan, to make certain that you're following through, to make certain that you're on target if you're on goal? One of the strategies that I've heard about recently that I think is just brilliant, it's called the 15th protocol. I'm not sure who came up with it. I'd love to give them credit. Yet, meaning, if you have a monthly goal, a monthly target of, say, pending contracts, how many are we going to have this month? And by the 15th of the month, if you're not 50% of the way there, something's got to change. So what's going to change is the actions. And we predetermined what it's going to change and what it's going to be. For example, the first 15 days of the month, everybody on the team is going to make 20 contacts per day. If we're not at 50% of the goal on the 15th, well, that's going to increase to 30 contacts per day. Again, the more often you review this and see where you're at, you realize that when the Apollo launched toward the moon, to land on the moon, it was only on target 3% of the time, meaning 97% of the time it was off target. And if it weren't for these constant tweaks and constant adjustments, well, who knows where that spaceship would have ended up? I mean, it could have hit Mars, for heaven's sakes, right? So review consistently, and thanks for bringing that to our attention, John. That's beautiful.
And we use our strat plan for that, and it's our business plan. It doesn't sit in a drawer. I mean, it gets reviewed every year, but I mean, really, our strat plan ties into our business plan, and that's the thing it's a living document, right? I mean, it's just adjusted and tweaked, just like the moon shuttle. So, and then work on your business, not in it. I mean, I probably said that 10 times during this call already. 100%. I mean, like.
And you also brought up in our pre-call this notion of, don't build the business around you. Now, tell me why.
Because that's not working. That's working in your business and not on it. And again, you can only do so much. And there's two things that I see that are the most common mistakes. We already covered one of them, which is not hiring help. And the reason why people don't hire help is because they're perfectionists. They're like, oh, well, I can do it better myself. And if I'm doing everything, then I control it. And everyone's control freaks. I mean, I see in our industry more than any other problem, it's the control freak thing. That's not allowing them to succeed. It's not allowing them to get help. And it's not allowing them to grow at all, because they want to control everything, and you can't, and you can't be a perfectionist in this industry. And I know that I've, spoke with you earlier, Sean. I was telling you the 80-20 type of rule, and I'm a solid B kind of guy. It's like I've accepted the fact that everything's not going to be perfect, because there's a lot going on, and I want to directionally move forward. And if you're waiting for that A+ every single time, you're just not going to be as effective as somebody that just gets a solid B and keeps on plowing, because by the time you get one A+, I've done 10 Bs. I'm that much further ahead. And if those Bs translate into cash, guess who's getting paid more? I mean, like that's, you just have to keep on moving forward and accept the fact that, you don't have to be absolutely perfect every single time. So, finding the right people, absolutely. And then empower them.
I love it. Okay, Jeff, we're going to get to your question in just a second. I want to stay on this system though. See, and let me just give you my definition real quick of a system, gang, and that is a standardized process that produces a consistent and predictable result. Meaning it's done the same way every single time. And so when I asked John about systemizing his business, what did that look like? Earlier, he talked about a flow chart. So he shared this with all of us. This is a traditional listing flow chart. And John, just walk us through this here real quick.
I mean, it seems pretty basic, like every single step in my brokerage. I mean, everything that can be done in my brokerage, I've got a sheet that looks like this, and it's documented. I own it, and if something breaks or, there needs to be a tweak, it gets tweaked on here. We look at the legend on the lower right-hand corner. You've got listing processor, RP system task, which is Roku task, listing broker, receptionist, managing broker. Those are the responsibilities of who does what. And then, we just follow over to 2, and we add it into pre-market, and then we've got somebody verifying the compliance of it. Like, is this a complete package, or is it missing something? If no, then we send a request for missing documents and or corrections, and it loops back around to verify compliance again. And that's just an endless loop until it's correct. And then once we get a yes, we go over to request photos, right? And then we verify compliance of photos. Is this meeting our standards? Does it make sense? And if not, then we keep on requesting photos, and there's a loop until they do. And then once we hit a yes, then we send the listing contract to a broker for signature. And again, this is all done electronically, and it can be all done very quickly, but these are the actual steps, so that if my systems were completely down, and let's pull the electricity grid out of the whole US, I could still do this manually via paper. We have even subsections of this that are, and so everything is mapped out to the nth degree. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but it's still kind of cool at the same time. And you could sit down not knowing anything about how our company operates, and you could literally follow this along and do it just like we do it.
Well, and Tom, there's brilliance in this, because, I mean, look at McDonald's. The reason that they can hire at such a low hourly wage is because everything is systemized. It doesn't require a specialist, somebody who's talented, somebody who has this unique quality about them to do the job, because it's systemized. Think about it. When you step up to McDonald's at the countertop, which direction are the French fries? They're to the left, right? And it's the same way all over the world. Guys, I've been inside of McDonald's all over the world just to see if the French fries are on the left, and they are. Everything is systemized to the point that anybody could do the job. And now the other brilliant part about this that I want to just kind of drill down on real quick is that when somebody up and leaves your organization, if they are that specialist and it's not systemized, then who gets to do the work? You do.
Now, well, and second of all, that's scary, because what the hell did they do? I mean, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I have no idea what half the people are doing in my office. This does. Like, I mean, I could tell you, I'd have to look it up, right? I mean, I don't know what they do, and I don't know how they do it, but I know that the result is done this way. Like I'm positive of that. If you notice, verify compliance, if we pick something like this, that doesn't say how, right? That just says it needs to be done. So they have their own little, I don't care if they light a candle, sing a song, twirl around. I mean, it doesn't matter. As long as the compliance is verified and they move on, that's cool, right? I mean, like, so they can do it their way, but this automates the tasking. And that's another important part, Sean, is with my team, I have everything just like McDonald's, systematized to the point where everything's almost like a station. So if you think about like well, that's the next level down, but if you think about like a manufacturing, like assembly line style, each position, I have people sit in, and I actually change them up at least once a quarter for a week, and have them work different positions, just so that they're aware of what the person to the left of them is doing, what the person to the right of them is doing, and so that they get a feel, because people are sick, people have vacations and holidays, and people get hit by buses. I guess we don't have buses around here, but so these things, life happens, right? And we have redundancy in all of our people, and these things are mapped out that I could sit down in any position. I could walk to my office right now, sit down in a position, and tasks are popping up on the screen, and that I can do the tasks. If I don't know how to do the tasks, I can click on a question mark or like more detailed instructions of how to complete that task, just like what he showed, what Sean's showing you now is the agent checklist listing. Well, if you go back one slide, Sean.
Sure.
So under that verify compliance number 2, if you now go forward, so that entire step, verify compliance, somebody's actually literally manually checking to make sure that each one of these items is present, right? That's
Yeah, and as I read through this form, John, it outlines color coding for files and things like that. Talk to me about that.
Color coordinated folders, so that if I look at a red folder, I know that that's a listing every day. Like I don't even have to think, I'm dealing with a listing. Or if I'm looking at a blue folder, that's a sale. I don't have to guess what it is, and then the address is on it, right? So I mean, like very basic, categorically, very quickly identify things. And so we have paper detailed checklists of every single thing that you're supposed to do on every single step for those that require that.
So everybody who's listening, like at the Kokoska Group, we had yellow folders for listings, blue folders for buyers. For the new seller lead sheets, so that anybody that answered the phone could ask the potential seller all the qualifying questions, those were yellow. And any buyer lead sheets with every buyer question, those were blue. So in a stack of papers on your desk, you could pick out who's the buyers, who's the sellers, and begin following up immediately. So what systems can you learn from here? And by the way, we're going to send out these documents to everybody who's on the webinar right now. Let's move on to the next point. How many hours do you work in your business every week, John?
Probably a little less than what you would guess. I put in between 4 to 6 hours a week in my real estate business.
4 to 6 hours a week. And so I have a follow-up question. How's that possible?
By having the right people in place, by having the right teams, by having the system built. I mean, I built a machine. I mean, I hit the start button, I walk out and it's running, right? I mean, and at this point it's well-oiled. It's a well-oiled, well-running machine. And you can't. How is it possible? Well, you have to figure out what your priorities are in life. Mine is free time, because time is more valuable to me than anything. So it is way more than money. So,
right.
Of course, by hiring people to help me, etc., I have to share some of the wealth, right? Because that's sharing. There's expense. But what do I get in turn for that? I get time. So,
right. So we've got a couple of questions, John, that came up here real quick. So sorry to interrupt you yet. I think it's Laddie said, good info on how to manage business, but how to get to the stage when you need all this means how to acquire clients in the first place. That kind of ties into Jeff Merrill's question. He said, I think anyone can get leads anymore, either finding free leads or paying Google. He said the key is converting the leads, and he thinks that we would agree, which I do. So he says, how do you convert leads?
It's just a numbers game. And I don't want to say the same word and sound like a broken record, but systems. I mean, like you have a system in place, you have some scripts, and it's a numbers game. You can't win every single one, but we have a CRM. So if you don't have a CRM, you have to get a CRM. There's no way in heck you can do real estate, in my opinion, without one.
Hey, which by the way, John, I went down a couple of weeks ago to Atlanta and I sat through a couple of days of training with Commissions Inc. or Sync. I got to tell you, that platform's pretty exciting, no doubt about it. And John, I know you've got a fantastic platform as well that you're going to talk to us about, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's hundreds of different ways, but I mean, just in general, CRM, you have to be able to nurture clients, because not every single person, especially internet-based leads, and of course, being the math science guy, we track everything. The national average right now is, for internet-based leads, is 4% conversion. So that means out of 100 leads that you talk to, whether it's you or somebody on your team, you're going to convert 4 of those. Okay, so my office My average right now is we just passed 7. So we're at 7 versus 4. So we're nearly double the national average. I mean, I have an internal, sales agent, ISA, they're called in the CRM world. And all they do is monitor and track what everybody's doing as far as leads. Are they following up? What's their conversion rate, et cetera? Just monitoring it and making sure that if I see some of my top producers, as far as top lead converters, I make sure that they always are getting leads because they're converting at a higher rate than maybe somebody that's only getting 4%. I want the 15% person to be converting them.
Right.
So
right.
Yet everyone's using the same script because let's face it, I mean, you could talk to 10 different people and some people are going to like you, some people aren't. And I'm okay with that. Right. I mean, so it's just a law of numbers. So with leads, my opinion is the more the better because you're just working on that average, right? You just need to convert at a higher number. And in my strat plan, our goal this year was to move from, we started off at 6. Our goal was to move from 6 to 8. And we're already at 7, right? So we had to change around some of our scripts. We had to distribute leads a little differently so that we could, because we're trying to improve. And next year, we're going to go for, because I'm sure we're going to hit 8. So maybe next year, we're going to be, let's move it to 10. So 1 in 10 people that call our office, bam, we got a sale.
Well, undoubtedly knowing the numbers in your business is critical. Now, if you guys want to, go to iconcoachinre.com, click on Agent Tools, and I've got the most effective follow-up script. It's a free download. Just go check it out. It's relatively simple, though, I will warn you, yet it works. Gang, I A/B tested this with tens of thousands of leads, and what I've given you is the best, highest conversion rate script that exists out there today. So just go to iconcoachinre.com, go to Agent Tools, and download that free download.
I can't wait to download it, Sean, so thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, John. I'll warn you, it's simpler than you think.
I'm always willing to learn. I mean, I'm always trying to take in information, try new systems, try new scripts, try new suggestions and ideas. Absolutely.
The website, somebody asked me to repeat, is icon, ICON, coaching, RE for real estate.com. Go to Agent Tools, download. There's several tools there, and I'm adding more every single week, gang. So just please feel free to go and download that. We'll also have this webinar recorded, and we'll post it in the library section of the website. I trust that this is helpful. Jeff, I'll give it to you here real quick, and John, you too, buddy. So it's really simple. Whenever you get a lead, whether it be a lead from 30 seconds ago or 30 days ago, the very simple follow-up script is this. Hi, this is Sean Kokoska with XYZ Realty. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm just calling to update my files to see if you're still in the market to buy a home or find out if you've already purchased something. That's it. Simple as that. See, the challenge with most people is they call them back and they say, you require or requested information about 123 Main Street. Did you get all that information? And what does the prospect say? Yes, I did. Thank you very much. Bye, right? Because they want to get you off the phone. So never call them back about one property. Call them back about every property. Are you still in the market to buy a home, or have you already purchased something? Only 2 answers. If they've already purchased something, say thank you very much and be grateful, because now you don't have to follow up with them anymore, right? Yet if they're still in the market, then what you do is, and I take you through all the steps of how do you stay with them on the phone, log into the multiple listing service, pull the information out of them, find out why that's important to them. Now you've positioned yourself to possess something the prospect wants, and you'll be able to set an appointment, okay? So read through that document, though, because there's much more to it than just that. The website, again, is iconcoachinre.com. All right, good job, everybody. Let's move on, John. We've got a lot to cover. There's one thing, by the way, if you guys maybe want some help with your business, we've developed a system with our consultants here at Icon Coaching for a free advice session, and that's exactly what it is. Obviously, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So what we end up doing is we want to take you through a bit of assessment, and then we can give you some free advice. It's really that simple. So if you're interested in that, just take out your cell phone right now and just send a text to this simple 5-digit phone number if you're in the US, or it's a 6-digit number if you're from Canada. Just type in one word, free advice, and send it to that 5-digit number, 72727, or if you're in Canada, 555-444, and just send. And within a couple of seconds, there will be a text message sent back to you with a scheduling link. So at your leisure, whatever your availability is, you can set up that free advice session. So choose to do it, choose not to do it. Either way, all good things. We're here to add value to you. And I trust you're getting something from John's wisdom and insight and input. So a lot of this has to do with mindset. In fact, Diana Kokoska, my mother, she always told me that 90% of success is in fact mindset. And as John said, it's a numbers game. I mean, 90% of anything, gang, it's just showing up, just having the mindset to show up. So John, you got into the business, you got a buyer's agent within the first 2 weeks, you hired an assistant within the first 30 days, which undoubtedly set your trajectory to achieve massive success in the real estate world. Yet a lot of us, well, we have this hang up, this, oh, I can't hire somebody. What if I can't afford them? What if I can't pay them? And there's all these limiting beliefs that creep in. So how did you overcome the negative chatter and engage in an empowering mindset?
I mean, you got to have faith in yourself and, faith in God, faith that this has already been, what we're doing is real estate. I mean, it's already done. I mean, people have been doing real estate for a lot longer than we've been alive. So, I mean, it's a known quantity, and people are just getting smarter. They're studying it more. So, absolutely. I mean, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Not perfect. You notice it doesn't say it's worth doing perfect. It's worth doing right. That's at 80%. You do a good job and move on, right? I mean, a solid B is, in my opinion, what you're striving for.
No doubt about it. All right. Describe your philosophy around work-life balance. I mean, you work 4 to 6 hours in your real estate business every week, and yet you're achieving extraordinary success because you want to be able to still balance everything else that's going on in your world. You shared your philosophy with me, and the first point you gave me was, don't buy into a 9-to-5 mentality. What does that mean?
That means life happens. I mean, I said it before, you buy into a results-driven mentality. You get results. That's it. I mean, this 9-to-5 stuff, I don't believe in it for myself or anyone that works for me or with me. So scratch that out and it's done. So flex hours. See, yep, flex hours that are all results-driven. Religion. So that's my priority level right there. Religion first, health, friends, family, and work. Build your schedule and balance it all. So this is the most important point that everyone should take away. Don't lose yourself when you build your business. I mean, you can't lose your family and your friends and your health and God. And I mean, like, if you lose that, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing it for? It doesn't mean anything. And that goes to the day before vacation phenomenon, which is one of my favorite things. And so let's just say that my buddy over in Maui just called me up and said, hey, you can use my home. You need to come out this weekend though. I'll give it to you for free. In fact, I've got a couple extra plane tickets for points that are going to expire, so I'm going to fly you and a buddy out there. But you have to do it this weekend. So I call up Sean, and we're on the phone right now. Hey, you want to go to Hawaii this weekend? And you're like, holy cow, that gives me a day notice. What am I going to do? Well, A, you're going to say yes, and then B, now you're going to find out what's really important in your work day and in your life and what's not, because you're going to be massively focused on, okay, I've got to get X, Y, and Z done. Those are the most important things. These things can wait. These things I can have somebody else help me with, and et cetera. And then Sean's going to be in Maui, right? And that's going to happen. So why not do that every day in everything that you do, whether it's vacation, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's living in the moment and doing what's important in that moment. that you should live life like that.
That's right. Just got a comment from Todd Crockett. What's up, my man? He said, that's right. Go on more vacations. I absolutely agree.
Oh yeah, I won't give them up. I mean, like, I just full balance on everything.
Yep. Now you also said, recognize you're the last, not the first. Talk to me about that.
That's all about being a leader, right? Being a business owner, being a leader. You're the last one that's taken care of, not the first one. You make sure that every single person is being treated fairly, is compensated, is first for everything. And then if there's anything left over, then maybe you become important. I mean, so absolutely, don't be greedy. Trade off. I've mentioned that multiple times. Really, I don't want to be greedy with money. I want to be greedy with my time.
Yeah.
And I'll pay somebody to have more time, because I can't buy time directly, but I can hire somebody to buy myself time. So you actually can buy time. It's paying for others to do what takes up your time. And as you guys go out, hopefully when you leave this, you're going to understand that you want to try to build your business and not lose yourself. You want to try to bring on somebody and involve yourself less, like build your business, document it so that you're not the center of it, right? So that and I have multiple businesses, but and this is true for all of them. Like when you're building them, you want to build it with the end in mind that you're not even in it. So I build my businesses so I'm the least important person in it. I'm the architect, but I'm certainly not in it, right? And so I think that will help you guys out a lot. And don't be afraid to take that next step. That's where everyone else is failing. And Sean mentioned it, man, like 90% of the game is showing up. I mean, if you just take that next step and hire somebody, or don't even believe me, just, I want you to look in your own offices right now, out of all the people that you know, and you tell me if you can name a single top producer out there in your own offices, in your own markets. Take a look at them, and I bet you they all have people working with them. I guarantee it.
So you said it earlier, what would you say to an agent that's been considering hiring an assistant for a number of months or even years?
Listen to your inner voice. Do it, because you will not become successful without one.
Okay, so one of the main reasons that you've achieved such massive success, John, is because of what you've developed at Realtypilot. What is Realtypilot?
So it's a back office system. It's a software as a service, cloud-based, and it helps manage every aspect of your business. So you can think of it like a kind of a brokerage in a box. Whether you're an individual agent or your entire franchise, this can help you run your business. And it's centered around workflow and tasking, which is what I mentioned, which all those little flow charts and all these little scripts and checklists and stuff, they're all integrated and automated in this thing so that all my members of my team, and actually every agent in my brokerage, sits down and they get tasked on what they're supposed to be doing that day. And they just have to go off their own task list, and the system helps automate this through, like, they click complete, and 3 other things pop up for multiple people to do the next step, right? And it's all automated, so you don't have to try to remember, how to go through this flow. So, and it's a basic CRM, expenses, workflow, tasking, transaction management, offer management, expense management. You can cut checks with it. I mean, I use it to run my business in 3 different states, with hundreds of agents and tons of offices. So, and I rely on it every day, and that's what's helped me to obtain and remain in the top in the entire world as far as real estate professionals with very limited time invested in the business.
If somebody wanted to find out about Realtypilot, how would they find out about that? I mean, it's a system you use. Obviously, you love it. You're a tech guy. This is something you've developed, yet it's a full-on automated workflow process, procedures, things like that. So if somebody wanted to learn about that, what would they do?
They would go to, simply realtypilot.com.
I'm just going to type it up on the screen for everybody. So realtypilot.com, what do they do then?
You can sign up for free for 30 days.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's a free account. You can click on, sign up or subscribe. It's a demo free for 30 days. You can put some files in there, and it's a very automated way to do real estate. So it's highly effective. And the name of the software, Realtypilot's the company. The name of the software is Concourse 360. So I believe you click on a Concourse 360 icon and you can try it free for 30 days. Now, and then the cost after that is less than $50 a month. And then you can control your entire business with that. Now, there's also a product that is an offer management tool that's free, and that's free forever. It's called offerrunway.com. So you could manage, if you're a large lister and you're trying to deal with dealing with multiple offers and all the negotiations and so forth. This is an offer management platform at offerrunway.com that's free and very easy to use. Again, you could just sign up for that free account, and that's it. Yep, so offerrunway.com.
Okay, offerrunway.com. Very cool. Now, you said something about with Realtypilot, or is it Offer Runway, that people can get access to, signing up to receive BPOs, to take REO listings, to really start getting into a relationship with some of these asset managers that have the ability to send them even bulk listings. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so in the Concourse system, we do have lots of clients that put in BPO requests, and we have a list of clients in there where you can actually, if you're not signed up, or I think earlier there was a question, how do I get into REO? How do I get into doing BPOs? Well, we have a client list on Concourse that you can literally click on these client names, and it takes you to the website, and you can sign up, because that's the first step. And then our software is used for, it helps you automate the BPO process so that you can actually get a BPO done in 5 minutes. So now we're talking about like business strategies. I have a BPO shop in each one of my real estate offices because it just makes money. You get paid roughly $50 for a BPO. And if you can knock it out in 10 minutes, you have somebody sitting at a station doing this, you have another driver, and you can just create just a cash cow doing that over and over again. So it's all in Concourse 360. And then as you sign up for these clients, some of them are just BPO only, some of them are BPO and REO. They recognize the system. We have 30 plus clients on there that do distribute REO listings to people that are on the system. And I know we also just implemented a relocation. Remember my biggest problem? I think that was the opening remark that you asked me, Sean, was what's your biggest, dumb mistake that you did in business? Was not following up on referrals. We launched a referral piece in this that automates the follow-up on referrals. So now if somebody moves out of state or out of area, I simply put their name in there, either select an agent or have the system find one for me. And then I sit back and I'm guaranteed to get paid. So it's as easy as that. So I wish I would have had that feature over the last 10 years, because I'd be a much happier person, or at least more wealthy.
John, we've got just a slew of questions that have been coming in. Do you mind hanging out with us for a couple extra minutes here?
Yeah, no, awesome. No, this is cool.
Okay. Dean Harris says, are you saying you would not have sold 15,000 homes without a team?
Absolutely 100%.
Agreed. He said, is your team going to be cost effective if you're not a broker? And I believe an agent, a broker, can build a team. That's the nice thing about our industry is that, I mean, there is no ceiling, only self-imposed ceilings, right? I mean, how many homes can one person sell inside of a single year if they leverage appropriately?
You know, 100%.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say, you know, I wasn't a I mean, I've only been owned my own company for the last 5 or 7 years out of the 13 that I've been doing this. So the first 6 or 7 years, I actually was a team, and I took that team and became a brokerage with it because I built up my team so big. But absolutely, I mean, I just negotiated with the broker that I work for, said, this is going to be the split. I'm going to do 100%. I'm going to build a team underneath it. I'm going to pay you, you know, X amount of dollars per month flat fee for, you know, and I'll pay for E&O, and I'm going to pay for my own office space, and you're just going to get a check in the mailbox, and God bless America. And they were happy, I was happy, and we moved forward. So absolutely. I mean, you don't have to own a brokerage. In fact, I think what's trending right now is owning teams and replicating teams across the country. I mean, that's trending right now. So
singular franchising, right?
Yeah, and they're suggesting to not own anything because it's cheaper. I mean, I have building expenses and all this stuff. Hell, you're better off as a team just making money and not worrying about leases and overhead and secretaries and all this stuff. I mean, I think it'd be easier.
Yeah, agreed. Bill Stewart asks, what do you do in 4 to 6 hours a week?
As much as possible. So I probably accomplish in 4 to 6 hours what probably most people do in 40. Because it's just, that time frame is very, very focused. And really, I don't even work in the business during those 4 to 6 hours. That's 4 to 6 hours on the business, you know, taking a look at where we are, making any kind of adjustments, et cetera. So it's, occasionally, I mean, I still will go out and you know, knock on a door occasionally so I can remember what that's like and what today's consumers are looking for, et cetera. So I still do property visits, I still take listings, I still show buyers, but not very often. You know, I mean, that might be 1 week's worth of activity is just showing one buyer for a couple of homes.
Gotcha.
Right? So
how many leads do you give each agent each month?
All. Yeah, I don't, I give all leads. So
yeah,
the company buys leads.
Though. I mean, do you give them 20 leads a week? Do you give them 10 leads a week? What does that look like?
We get about, we get a couple thousand leads a month. So on a team of 10, I mean, each person's roughly getting a couple hundred.
Yeah, so you've got just 10 salespeople on your team, and you're doing almost 1,500 transactions a year. So the per agent production average is around 140 transactions.
Yeah, so
now, one thing you must recognize when you hear that number, guys, that's mind-blowing. At the same time, all they do is sell. They're not doing anything with the inspection. They're not doing anything with the appraiser. They're not doing anything with the mortgage company, the title company. They are there to sell. It's one after the next, after the next, after the next. And as soon as it goes under contract, they bring that information back to the office, they hand off the file, and they're done with it. And
well, actually, they just upload it into Realtypilot and they move on. But I mean, essentially, if we were doing the paper version, they take it back to the office and move on. Correct.
There you go. So upload it to Realtypilot, move on to the next one, and that's their responsibility. So you and I could be closing 150 transactions as an individual if we had somebody doing all that other stuff, and we've got several thousand leads coming in every single month, right?
That's the whole point of what we've been talking about for the last hour.
That's exactly right. So how many agents on your team, Jessica? I trust you heard that. There's 10 salespeople, and then a bunch of admin staff to handle the workflow.
Yep, 5. Which there's 3 people in the office, and then 2 field people that do the running that actually physically touch places for inspections, for, water certs, for, just anything that touches the home that the real estate agent doesn't necessarily have to be there for. So unlicensed touching of home.
Gotcha. Anonymous viewer says, how can I get leads? She tried Zillow, or he tried Zillow with no luck. After 6 months, 5 leads. They said they're in an area where it's too saturated, too many agents. I think that's frankly where Zillow really messed up. I mean, it could have meant something to be a premier agent with Zillow, yet unfortunately everybody could be a premier agent, and they oversaturated the market. And that is a bit challenging, to say the least.
Well, again, I mean, it's a pay-to-play model. So if you're in an oversaturated market, again, focus on one zip code or two that you can still get into, and then dominate that. I mean, pay-to-play. You can't focus. You're going to have to focus on one zip code or two zip codes with your ad spend to be able to dominate, because you want to get in one of the top 3 positions, or else you're not going to show up. And I like to be showing up 100% of the time, every time.
All right.
So I spend my dollars on the dashboard until I'm showing up 100% of the time, every time.
All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. So Chris Lewis asks, so how exactly do you get into REOs?
Well, the first step is applying to the institutions, to the banks, and getting their applications. And that part you can do on Realtypilot. I mean, we have the list of clients there. You can click, and you can actually go to their websites, and you have to become a vendor first. So once you're a vendor, there's an approval process, and then once that happens, then you need to work with you have to be on the systems that they're on too. So ours is one. There's a system called Equator out there. There's one that's called ResNet. So you need to have accounts on the systems that banks use, so ours and others. And then you have to register with the financial institutions and banks that have assets. Then you need to be approved by them. Then once all that happens, then you're eligible to start receiving assets. At that point, it's relationship based at the end of the day, once you get through all that. But a relationship won't help you until you get through all those other steps.
Right.
And to build some of the relationships, then you go to events like industry default events that might have asset managers and folks there, so that you can actually meet them, and then you can say, oh, by the way, I'm in the system, but I'm not getting anything from you guys yet. This is my experience, or this is why I'm great for this area, etc. And then that's how you build the business. So it's a lot like how I built my REO business. Was I jumped in a plane and flew around to every single industry event. I flew around to every single client, and I made myself known in the industry a lot. And then on top of that, that's my foot in the door. I then had all these back end systems where if somebody sent me something, an asset, I did it better, faster, cheaper than anyone else. And I just blew my competition out of the water, because they were like in the Stone Age compared to my systems. And I was just smoking everyone with fast responses, doing a good job, A+ report cards for all of them. I had a system, and everyone else was doing it via paper, and it wasn't fair. I blew everyone away. That's how I became big in it. And that's how you can do it in real estate in general, is pick a specialty, pick something that you love, or a niche. It's the people that pick niches and get really, really good at them. Those are the people that are the super high producers, whether that's new business, new construction, whether that's, relocation, whether that's REO, whether that's commercial, pick a niche discipline, and just become a master at that, and then communicate to everyone that controls that business, and you'll be on top.
All right. Great input, John. Way to go. I've never heard anybody explain it exactly step by step like that. And I myself was never a big REO agent. So great to get that information. So another question, Wes Harper said, do you have an inside sales or do the agents handle all the follow-up?
Both. I mean, I have an ISA that monitors all the agents doing the follow-up, and she's on their butt, making sure that they're following up, or else the lead flow gets cranked down on them and then gets cranked up on somebody else.
How many listings do you carry at any given time?
Well, I mean, I've had up to 1,000 at one point. So, I mean, it varies between, depends on, markets are, pretty ephemeral and cyclical. So, I mean, anywhere from 100 to 1,000 at any one time, just that I'm currently managing an inventory.
Right, because the question came in from Jason Emmett. He said, so where do you get 1,000 leads from? Is it just Zillow? Yet, I mean, if you've got 400 or 500 signs out there, obviously you're going to get a lot of leads coming into the office, right? A lot of signs.
Correct. So you get a lot of leads organically, but I mean, we have a pretty big dollar spend with Zillow too. It's like, and then I do Google ads, we do Facebook campaigns. We don't have just one marketing strategy. I mean, we try to do everything where it makes sense. So if there's a special event happening in town and we need a sponsor, or there's this or that, I mean, we try to get our name out as much as we can in all the communities that we service, via signs, via commercial teams. You guys, like, if any of you are starting your own brokerages, or you're looking at teams or whatnot, I mean, grabbing a commercial guy is sexy. I mean, because think about a commercial sign. That's like at least a 4x8 billboard with your name on it, right? Everywhere. So a commercial guy is such a great investment, because you can't get that kind of advertising anywhere else. I mean, that's like just a little nugget to keep in the back of your head. Commercial guys are awesome.
Great input, John. All right, I think that pretty much handles the questions. Walter asked, does this software work in Canada? I'm assuming for the text-to system. If you're going to text free advice, all one word, no space, to 555-444 if you're in Canada. I just real quick want to go through your list of nevers and your list of always, real fast, mainly because as we find clarity in our business, we achieve success, the more we can get in touch with our values and understand what's important to us, gang, the faster we can go. So list of nevers, John, just let's bullet point them real quick so we can let everybody get on with their busy day. I can't believe the retention that we've gone well over on our timeline, but everybody's still hanging on. They're loving what you're saying. So let's do this real quick.
That's awesome, and thanks everyone for staying. So listen, never compromise your life schedule for work. I mean, just never give that up. Never say yes to everything. We covered this already. Never be closed-minded and know-it-all. Always be willing to learn. Never live with regret. You make a decision, move on, and never be selfish with resources.
All right, good. Now your list of always. Here we go.
Always be grateful for what you have. Amen.
Yes, sir.
Always have time in the day for God, your family, your friends, and yourself. I mean, always live in the minute. Always do that vacation mentality, mindset of getting things done. Live right there. If you're with your kids, be with your kids. If you're at work, be at work. Yeah. Always start with the end in mind and work towards your goals. Everything, especially at work. I mean, like, if you need to question at every minute, like, A, is what I'm doing right now helping me to achieve what I'm trying to do from a goal standpoint, from a strat plan standpoint, etc. And if the answer is no, then why in the hell are you doing it?
There you go.
Always strive to learn more and try something new every day. Be a risk taker, you know, like don't just live in your own little comfortable box, because you just won't make it very far. You know, never be complacent, or this is always.
Yeah, always never be complacent. I love it. All right, so unfortunately we don't have time to your philosophies around leveraging big data yet, guys. That is the type of question that you're going to be able to answer when you consider engaging in the ICON conference. It's going to be coming next April, so it's April 2018. And we anticipate having thousands of real estate agents there that you can connect with, that you can network with. And once again, I just want to give you the quick CTA free advice session. I mean, guys, if you want some help, take this assessment with us. We'll understand where the gaps exist. We'll be able to give you some tools, some free resources that will help you kind of bridge that gap, okay? Now, put the slide back for 1 second. Which one were we at? This one? I'm assuming so. List of always?
Yep.
Yeah, and feel free to just do a screenshot of that, guys. And again, if you want some free advice, just text free advice, all one word, 72727. If you're in the US, and 555-444 if you're in Canada. Let us help you out. We're really excited about doing that. So, John, sincerely appreciate your time. Thank you for being our very first icon in the icon coaching world. You've added significant value, buddy. It's made my heart swell with just fulfillment and happiness. And I trust that you all got something that you can implement into your business right now today. Now, I do recognize there may be a little challenge with the website right now. Some of you went there, attempted to download the follow-up script or the open house system that helped me close over 100 buyer sites every single year. Trust me, I'll have that fixed. I'll have it fixed by tonight. I'm not sure what's going on yet. Please go back and visit again. We'll get you that information. And by the way, the flow chart, the checklist, we're going to be emailing that out along with a recording of this webinar. So, John, once again, buddy, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all for attending. Good job. Take care, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.